Yuja Wang, Lang Lang, Joyce DiDonato, Joshua Bell. These are just a few of the classical music superstars that have my next guest on speed dial. Yes, she's the woman behind their eye-catching outfits, a fashion designer for the biggest classical stars. Today, we'll find out what is it like to be a boutique fashion designer, how studying classical piano actually started her down this path, and finally, some tips for any young artists watching who are wondering how to take their stage attire to the next level on a moderate budget. So, I'm very happy to welcome to the Bridge and Wolak Music Mentorship Program, Rosemarie Umetsu.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. It's a real pleasure. Please just set the stage. Tell us, what is it like to be a fashion designer for us weird and occasionally wonderful classical musicians?
Actually, it's wonderful. It's very exciting because you get to collaborate on so many different levels with so many different artists. And for me, what's really special is to make fashion a component of performance, which not everyone thinks of, perhaps right away, but the way we've been able to work with artists, collaborate with them so that it's not just making them look spectacular visually and doing garments that physically work perfectly for them, but also, and with their personalities, which is really important, but also to be able to take inspiration from the projects that they're working on or the repertoire that they usually perform and take a little bit of that as inspiration for whatever we create for them.
So sometimes you might design a dress or an outfit specifically for a work.
Absolutely.
A performance or a piece.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
And we've done really interesting things where the artist and I have actually sat down and listened to the work or got clips of it before it gets even released, and thinking of colors and things that pass through our mind while listening to it, and then incorporating that into the finished product, which is great fun.
So you never have the same day twice, I imagine.
Never.
And it's always a matter of not just fashion for flash, but there's a real artistic intention that you try to.
Exactly. And it's balancing that, the artistic, with the functional.
Right. Could you tell us a little bit about who do you work with? Like where in their careers, or some specific people too? Sure.
Well, we're really lucky in that we've been able to work with a whole different types of artists, the young emerging artists, as well as the well-established. So we've had a really good cross-section of working with both. And they also have different needs.
Of course.
With, being in different stages in their careers.
I imagine a little different budget as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Impress us. Please name drop. I know you've worked with like the biggest people. Just give us a few, please.
Okay, let's start with Michael Bridge.
Yes, you designed this outfit for me. Thank you so much.
Michael Bridge, yes. Our first accordionist that we were able to collaborate with. And then, there's Joshua Bell, Yuja Wang, Joyce DiDonato, Federica von Stade, Peter Ungen, Stuart Goodyear, Christina Szabo, Beatrice Rana. I might be here for a while if I keep going.
Yes,
exactly.
Young artists, they'll get their first concerto performance with an orchestra, or their big break. Was there one moment that was your big break?
Yes. So this is a really good question. So I was always a huge fan of Federica von Stade, the wonderful mezzo. And when I heard that she announced her farewell tour, I was disappointed on two levels. One was that she was leaving the stage, and the second was that I had never got to work with her yet. So I decided to boldly message her management, and this was quite early in our career. And I was just blown over by the fact that she personally responded and said that she would love to be dressed by us.
Wow.
And commissioned us to do a couple dresses for her farewell tour.
Wow.
It blew me away because she was taking a huge chance on an emerging designer when she'd been someone who was dressed by Givenchy and people like that. So this was really exciting. It ended up being all around the US and Canada and Carnegie Hall. That was our first.
Not bad. Starting from the top.
Exactly.
So how did you present these?
So this was interesting because she lived out west and where we were, and she was just basically coming in for a couple days for a concert here in Kitchener-Waterloo. And so at that time, what I thought was the best thing we could do was to present them all on Barbie dolls.
How tall were they?
Oh, I don't know.
Like
maybe,
this?
maybe about a
foot,
a little over a foot, whatever the Barbie doll was. So we did all these little dresses for her, and they looked wonderful. And she loved it. And I didn't realize this, but at the time she had just found out that she was going to be a grandma to a little granddaughter for the first time. And she said, and one more thing, do you think I could get the Barbie doll dresses too?
Mini-me for
Mini-me's.
her
Exactly.
grandchild. Wow. And how many years ago was this
That
really
would be
launched your company?
11 years ago.
11 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I know you studied piano
Yes.
at the Royal Conservatory
Yes.
in Toronto. How did you move from performing into fashion?
I think I was around 20 years old, and I realized at that time that I would be a decent collaborator, collaborative pianist, but I would think that most of my making a living was going to come from teaching. And I was not really a fan of being a teacher. I'm not a very good teacher. More a performer than a teacher.
Fair enough. It's good to know your strengths.
Exactly.
Or to know your passions.
Yeah, and I think it was important that I realized that at the time I did.
Yes.
So it gave me some time to say, really think about what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I took a complete break from music, classical music, period. I didn't even go for a concert because it was kind of painful to, dreaming of this all your life and then thinking, but I'm not going to really do what I thought I would do. And from there, I actually lucked out several times in being able to, meet with, get employed by a company who was willing to actually put me through school for interior design. And while studying interior design, a lot of my courses there were shared with fashion students. And I think that was a light switch that went off because my background, I've always loved fashion. In addition, maybe not as much as I loved music, but certainly fashion was very important. And my grandmother was a fantastic seamstress and made all my fashion dreams come true as a child. And she actually taught me as a kid, pattern drafting and draping. But of course, it was in one ear and out the other because that was not the career path I thought I would ever take. And then my husband, who I blame for most of this.
Wonderful.
Who actually encouraged me and said, hey, just go out and do something in fashion. And if it doesn't work out, interior design or whatever. Exactly. Yeah. And so I did. And very fortunately, I got a lot of great breaks from getting into Holt Renfrew. And then realizing from there that what I really enjoyed doing was developing product and designing. And then I switched over to Club Monaco, and I, as a product developer, designing product for them. And from there, I got a great break again with a company from Paris, and I got to work with this designer in Paris and actually launch a capsule, a secondary line for them. And I got to, connect with so many different European mills and suppliers.
Right. I remember when you were designing this outfit for me, you were you were emailing me saying, "Oh, I got some new samples from Paris."
Yes.
And I believe this is where that ultimately came from. Probably connections you made.
Totally.
Then. One theme that I'm hearing a lot that I want to emphasize for all of our younger viewers here is Rosemarie's networking capability. that I have experienced firsthand. She knows everybody all the time. I say, do you know X? And she says, of course. I know them for 10 years. And I mean, you're talking about big breaks. Yes, there is luck. There is such a thing as just being in the right place at the right time. But I think that you're also really strong on networking.
I always say I love to collect people.
Collecting people, yes.
And yeah, networking is really important, no matter what field you're in. It's really important to network and keep those connections and keep them alive. You know, meeting someone at one time and forgetting about them is not, you know, or if you feel that, you know, or maybe I shouldn't be talking to them, or they're in a totally different league to me, don't ever think that.
Like with Federica, you just reached out and it
just
worked.
reach out and,
amazing.
You know, exactly. The worst they can say is no or not get an answer, but the best is
something happens.
Something happens.
You've brought some of your work with you.
Yes.
Perhaps this would be a really good moment.
Sure.
Would you please show me what you've made here?
Take a little walk around here.
Yeah, a stroll among these beautiful models.
Okay, we'll start with this one. And
wow,
this dress takes forever because this is all hand cut and engineered to create that pattern. So this is going to take sometimes up to 40, 50 hours to just sew it all in and do it.
Do you do all of this yourself, or do you have a team?
There are times I've done it, but it's generally the team. But all the cutting and the patterning of it is generally what I do.
Right.
And then if I have, you know, if I can, I might sew it, but if not, one of my seamstresses does it.
So at this point, you're making the decisions.
Exactly.
And pass it off.
Exactly. Usually pin it all together and then they hand sew it up.
Wow. And functionally, because I know that like all your clothing is bulletproof. you can arrive at 4:30 to the concert hall, late from your flight, take the wardrobe out, put it on like I've done already with this,
have you really?
and walk on stage. It doesn't wrinkle. It's just
not all of them, but I would say 75% of them. There are a few that's going to have a little wrinkles, and
sure,
you know, you do have to hang it up. But this one is the bulletproof.
It doesn't wrinkle.
It doesn't wrinkle. It folds really, you know, easily. You can even put it in your carry-on, for that matter.
Wow.
And then you just take it out and put it on, and
or you could fly
you're good to go.
in it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Exit aisle, please.
For sure.
I'm ready.
For sure.
Stunning. Now, what about the other dresses
this one,
that you have
let's
here?
talk about this. So
here, I'll go over
the
here.
other thing I was going to say was that I make sure that the fabrics that we use, and then of course the cut of the garments, are comfortable.
Of course.
So the performer doesn't feel that, you know, the garment is in the way of their performance. They don't have to think about it. So this one is from a mill in Italy, and it's a smart fabric. This mill actually supplies like a lot of athletic fabrics. So like the Tour de France and
it's super stretchy.
Like that. It's super stretchy, and it doesn't show like sweat marks and things like that, which is a big plus.
Ah, so when you're in the hot lights on stage, focusing hard.
Exactly.
It doesn't show.
Or we had an artist who actually had this dress, and it was a very, very hot summer, not too dissimilar to the 41, 42 degrees that we've been having lately.
Yes.
And they were just like, everyone was drenched. And she says, everyone looked at her and said, "Why aren't you wet?" It's because of my smart fabric dress.
Smart fabric, that's the way to go.
Exactly.
And what else do we have
So
here?
this one here is, we've been doing a lot of jumpsuits. The one I'm wearing, this one, and there are a bunch of others in the same collection, which actually appeal to both sexes. So I call them the unisex outfits.
Nice.
Yeah. And as you can see, either sex could wear it, and it's also very versatile. It's super comfortable again. And this skirt,
this is a separate piece.
This is a separate piece, but a lot of artists, women, for example, who do want something with a little bit more flow and bulk to it, but again, with travel, you can't.
Only one suitcase.
Exactly. This is perfect.
So this is like 2 outfits.
This is 2 outfits.
But it's you can just quickly add this rather than having to bring an entirely separate dress.
Exactly.
So smart packing. So we have smart fabric, smart packing, and what smart?
Well, this one isn't so smart. It's just a great dress, very comfy, and again, this one doesn't wrinkle either.
Gorgeous. Wow.
So that's a big plus with this dress.
You know, some musicians name their instruments. Do you ever name your creations?
Yes, I do. Sometimes, like this dress, I call it the calla lily.
Calla lily.
The calla dress.
Calla dress. Wow.
Yeah. I'm very inspired by flowers when I create. So quite often I will name it after the flower that it inspired me.
Calla lily.
A calla lily.
And a multi-layered fabric. So this is all one piece, though.
That's all one piece. And again, things such as this, or that one, it not only plays with the lights, but when you have different textures, similar to even your shirt, when you're up on stage, it really makes a difference.
Yes, as soon as you get that shimmer of multiple lights.
Exactly. And we'll talk about backs of dresses, but I always say that when an artist exits the stage, the impact has to be just as great as when they enter. Very often I try to do something really interesting in the back as well as the front, so that it's a little surprise as the artist leaves the stage for the audience.
Or buy my CDs.
Buy my CDs.
My Instagram is...
Exactly.
Cool. Exactly. Why don't we head back over?
Sure.
This is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
No problem.
So I'd really like to ask on behalf of our young artist viewers here who really want to take their fashion to the next level, but they don't have a jumbo budget just at this stage of their lives. Are there any tips? How would you go about coaching them through the process of improving their wardrobe?
That's a really interesting question, and I think there are 2 parts to this question. The first thing is making a few lists for yourself first. So I would call it purposely analyzing your personal style and then what your performance needs are. That way, when you go out shopping, you're focused. You're not, just... The easiest thing is, okay, I need to update my wardrobe, so let's go shopping. And then you're sort of fumbling around. Yes, I do need a shirt, but maybe, and you end up with maybe 5 items, which you don't really need.
And none of them are totally right.
And none of them are totally right. So just taking a little time ahead of your shopping expedition.
So what should be on these lists?
Yes,
What should
so
we
the
look
first
for?
thing I'd say is make a list of what your personal preferences are, such as colors and shapes. And then I would say make a list of things that you feel empower you and give you confidence. For example, I'm a pant girl. So when I'm not that I don't wear dresses, but when I want to feel empowered and confident, it's pants that I go to. So everyone's different, and just as long as you know what that is.
Yes.
The third thing is make a list of things that are going to help you with your instrument and you being able to perform more comfortably and easily.
Right.
And that differs with each instrument.
If I may, when we designed this shirt that I'm wearing right now, because my accordion, the weight sits mostly on the left leg when I'm playing, we wanted to do an uneven shirt, but we decided that the right hand side would be longer because the left one is hidden and it's under the accordion, and we got this just right so that it opens and my accordion can sit. But that's why this shirt is the way that it is because of my instrument, case in point.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then the next thing would be is make a list of what your performance schedule looks like. So what kind of repertoire you're playing, what kind of venues you're playing, whether you're playing solo, you're playing with ensembles, you're playing with orchestra, because your clothing is going to be different for each one.
Right.
So the last 2 are really important because one is looking at your wardrobe very critically and saying, you know what, these things in my wardrobe are still working really well for me. And all I need is something to just spark it up a bit.
Yes.
So that's what I'm looking for. And then the second part of it is, what do I have in my wardrobe that are my staples and I go to all the time, but they're looking a little tired and we need to upgrade them.
Right. So there's a whole, I'm hearing sort of an ecological element to
Absolutely.
this, not overspending and not overusing resources, because I just heard this crazy thing that I didn't know about fast fashion, where like so much is, do you know the numbers on this? Where so much fast fashion is wasted.
Oh, for sure.
And it's one of the biggest polluters
Absolutely.
To climate change and to our environment.
Absolutely. First, in just making the garment,
Right.
that's a whole pollutant. But then, because they're not perfectly fitted and not the best quality fabrics and stuff, what happens is, actually, this is a stat, which is 3 out of 5 pieces in fast fashion end up in a landfill.
Oh, goodness. After being worn once or 0
Exactly,
times.
exactly.
Oh, no.
If you actually put all your resources together for the 5 pieces that you were buying with something that was a cheaper alternative, you could have taken that and put it into just one piece, which is a little, maybe, you know, of much more better quality. Your fabric's gonna last, you know, the garment is gonna last. You can be wearing it 10 years later and still looking amazing in it.
And it's better for the environment to boot.
It's better for the environment.
And better for your wallet.
Exactly.
This is really smart shopping. We had smart fabric, smart everything, smart shopping as well.
There you go.
This is Rosemarie Umetsu. What a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for sharing with us your insights, and I hope you'll join us back on the show sometime soon.
Absolutely, would love to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.